Hello, I'm Haley with Neuhaus Education Center, and in this video we are going to discuss mastery checks and accurate and automatic reading. Mastery checks are an essential part of AAR instruction. The data that you get from mastery checks will help you determine what to do with future instruction. So for example, you might determine that you need to slow down or speed up the pace of instruction. You might need to do some reteaching or reviewing in either whole group or small group. Or you might need to do some extra practice. All of this information can be gained from the mastery checks. There are a total of 9 mastery checks throughout the AAR curriculum spread out over the 169 concepts that you will present to students. The mastery checks can be found in the appendix of the Accurate and Automatic Reading Manual or also on the Neuhaus website. Parts of them are given individually, and you can even take a little bit of your structured literacy time during the day, the instructional time, to give the mastery checks. If students have truly mastered that concept and they're doing well with their instruction, the mastery check should not take that long. They'll know what to do and they'll be successful. When you grade the mastery checks, you want to think about what kinds of information you can get from the analysis. So what I mean by that is we're not just looking at whether or not a student gets an answer right or wrong, and then counting the number of wrong answers and giving them a grade. While that is good information, that's not going to help us move forward with our instruction. What you really want to think about is looking for trends and errors, thinking about the answers that students gave that were incorrect and why they might have given those answers, and thinking about if students fixed any of their errors or self-corrected anything, and how long it took them on different parts of the mastery check. So to help facilitate this, I've come up with a list of guiding questions that might get you started in analyzing your mastery check data. So the first question is, what percentage of my students have mastered each section of the mastery check? In general, we say when 80% of your whole group, your whole class has mastered, it's time to move on as a whole group. The second question is, of the students who did not master, can I find trends and errors? Trends and errors will help give you information on what you might need to go back and cover again. Leading into 3, do I need to reteach or review any concepts in whole group? Maybe the majority of the class really did not do well on one concept. Let me go back and review or reteach that concept to the whole group. Perhaps you need to do some reteaching or reviewing of concepts in a small group. You can find a flexible grouping of 5 or 6 students and group them together to really target some reteaching or reviewing. You might even need to do this individually with some students. 5 is, based on the data, is my whole class ready to move on to the next concept? And then 6 is, after I reteach or review any concepts with my students, how am I going to know that they then have mastered and are ready to move on? To answer that last question, if you reteach or review any concepts with your students after giving a mastery check, you can give that section of the mastery check again, not the whole thing, but the parts that they missed and that you retaught to students to make sure that they have mastered the content. I just want to leave you on this note. It is vital to give the mastery checks during AAR instruction. This is not something that you can skip over. We want to use this data to be diagnostic and prescriptive with our instruction. Diagnostic meaning what went wrong, what are students not understanding, and what have they not mastered, and prescriptive meaning what can I do about it? How will I fill in these gaps that my students have? The goal of AAR reading instruction is for students to become readers who can read text in the real world out in context. So we use this data from mastery checks to help make sure we're on the right track. You can find more information about mastery checks in your AAR training materials or your AAR manual.